I think, with Bob Woodward's new book, Rage, I think it's called. He's apparently quoting Trump, saying that he had protected Mohammed bin Salman and saved his ass after the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who was murdered and dismembered in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. By all indications, I don't think anyone found his remains yet, but that's that's the story we think is most plausible. And so, yeah, I found that to be that's a hilarious development. I don't think it's so implausible. I mean, we've seen if we remember, just in 2018, just after Jamal Khashoggi's murder was becoming a big scandal, Trump blasted through this $8 billion arms deal with the Saudis, way over the objections of Congress, who are all saying hey, we should not be selling weapons to this country when there's all these allegations. And, so I think this is not all that implausible that Trump said these things. It is coming just from Woodward, but, we've seen before that Trump is very much in the court of the Saudis and Mohammed bin Salman.
Right. Well, to me, this seemed like one of those things that Trump said that is true of any administration. They protect dictators when it's beneficial and helpful. Whether it's Al-Sisi or Mohammed bin Salman or whoever the U.S. wants, trying to put Mansour Hadi back in control of Yemen, something like that. We're very willing to do this kind of stuff, but it's often the thing that's supposed to go unsaid. We're not supposed to hear the president say, "Oh, I protected this ruthless dictator after he did something ruthless and terrible." Also of note, lately in the Khashoggi trial, it seems like everybody who is getting punished is getting off very light. And, this is in a country where, I mean, up until very recently, women were not allowed to drive. And, people are beheaded, like teenagers are sentenced to being beheaded for social media posts that go against the government. And so, if the story that, is put forward by Mohammed bin Salman is true, that he had no idea that this happened, and that it was just some rogue people, you think they'd be actually interested in holding them accountable, but they're in no way interested in doing that. And so it seems like he probably did have something to do with it. And yeah, I can absolutely, this in no way surprises me that Trump said this. I can't believe he admitted to Bob Woodward that he downplayed the coronavirus. That seemed to me, even by Trump's standard, to be pretty a big of saying what's not supposed to be said. But this is within the realm of things that Trump says, and I'm not surprised at all. And I'm sure he did say it, but it doesn't matter if he said it or not. It's the absolute truth that that's what the U.S. does. And the other important thing is the truth of what the U.S. would have done, whether the president was Trump, Bush, Biden, Obama, Clinton. This is what the U.S. does. We keep our friendly dictators in power, no matter how gruesome their crimes.
Right. And yeah, I think it's also plausible as well, because Trump also maintained the whole time. It's not like he's saying, "Oh yeah, he ordered the killing and I'm defending him." He's maintaining that, "Oh no, he says he didn't do it." So that's part of Trump's whole story, is that we protected him, and hey, he's being unfairly targeted or something for his role in this, even though he's the crown prince. But whatever.
Right, the poor Mohammed bin Salman. Anything else really on Saudi Arabia here, Will?
I mean, it is interesting that just as this was happening, this line from Trump and from this Woodward book, we do have a Saudi court sentencing 8 people, I think, between 7 and 20 years for having some role in the Khashoggi murder. I think all their names have been kept secret, so we don't actually know who these people. Maybe somebody knows this, but I haven't actually seen a list of names of the people who are charged. But they are apparently holding some people accountable to some degree with this. But 7 to 20 years, so some of these people might get off fairly easily. We had, I think, 5 people previously who were sentenced to death for a direct role in the murder, but they've since been pardoned by Khashoggi's family. I think we actually covered that on Foreign Policy Focus, your old show. But I just thought that was interesting. Just as this line was coming out about Trump, protecting bin Salman, we have these other, defendants and suspects in Khashoggi's murder, possibly getting a sort of slap on the wrist if they're only given 7 years. 7 years for a murder plot is, maybe not such a harsh punishment.
Right. Again, in a country where any opposition to the government is punishable by death, and so
witchcraft and stuff.
Right. And again, if Mohammed bin Salman had nothing to do with it, you'd think he'd be pissed at hell as the people that did, because it cost him a lot of headache. I mean, he had to go
Right.
on a big apology tour, and I'm sure spent millions of dollars. And you know, it takes a lot to get on Oprah and to, like, you know, correct your public image, and you know, make sure that Twitter doesn't make Saudis sell off their stake, and stuff like that. And so even like Lindsey Graham was like, "Oh, I can't believe he did this," and was upset about it. So there was a lot of, you know, I'm sure pocket lining and back rubs that Mohammed bin Salman had to give, and I'm sure he
Right.
would have been really, really, really mad if this was just some rogue people doing something that he didn't want them to do. But that certainly isn't, you know, mirrored in any of the Saudi uh justice that's been handed down here. And again, as you
That's right.
point out, like there's never been like an official, like, you know, here's where the body is, if any body exists anymore, or I don't know, some like kind of a official thing that you could even present to the family, and I guess to his new fiance or whatever, to kind of, you know, give those people some ease and some peace and stuff like that. But I guess it's still all rather ambiguous as to where his, you know, final resting place is and what happened to him at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So